A single bracelet does not jingle alone. That is an African proverb, and in many African communities, a bracelet makes sound only when it moves together with others. One bracelet alone remains quiet, but when several bracelets come together, the sound becomes impossible to ignore. And that proverb captures the political message now emerging from Kenya's opposition movement, and as individual leaders position themselves ahead of the 2027 general election, the growing realization inside opposition ranks is that no single politician may be strong enough to challenge President William Ruto alone. Welcome to Kenya Lens Media, where we give you news updates as they break, and kindly, if you are new here, consider subscribing. Now, speaking during an interview aired on Friday, May 16, 2026, Eugene Wamalwa said he would be willing to put aside his own presidential ambitions in support of Sifuna if that becomes necessary to defeat President William Ruto in the next general election. The remarks are the clearest sign that Kenya's opposition leaders are beginning to focus more seriously on forming a united political front ahead of the 2027 elections. Wamalwa's comments also reveal the growing political influence of Sifuna inside opposition circles, even as tensions continue within the Orange Democratic Movement. For months, opposition leaders across Kenya have been speaking about unity, but Eugene Wamalwa's latest remarks now suggest that those conversations may be moving beyond public statements into actual political planning. And during the interview on political analyst Herman Manyora's podcast, Wamalwa was directly asked whether he could be ready to abandon his own presidential ambitions in support of Sifuna. His answer was immediate and clear, that the former defense minister, he said, would not hesitate to support Sifuna if his candidacy showed stronger chances of success. That statement may appear simple on the surface, but politically it carries major significance. Because in Kenyan politics, presidential ambitions often divide opposition movements long before elections arrive. Leaders frequently struggle to agree on one candidate, and coalitions collapse over personal interests, and alliances formed in public sometimes weaken behind closed doors. But Wamalwa now says the united opposition is prepared to avoid that path, and according to him, opposition leaders under the one-term banner and the broader Linda Wananchi movement are willing to sacrifice individual ambitions in order to present a united challenge against President William Ruto's administration. The one-term slogan has increasingly become a rallying cry among opposition leaders dissatisfied with the current government. The message centers on the idea of limiting President William Ruto to a single term in office, and while different opposition camps may still have internal differences, leaders now appear to agree on one thing: that unity will be necessary if they hope to succeed in 2027. Wamalwa said at some stage opposition leaders will have to sit down together and agree on one candidate capable of carrying the coalition's hopes. His remarks reflect growing recognition inside opposition circles that fragmentation could once again weaken their chances at the ballot. Already, several influential political figures are positioning themselves for possible presidential bids, and among them are Eugene Wamalwa himself, former Deputy President Gachagua, and increasingly Nairobi Senator Sifuna. Sifuna's name has become more prominent in national political conversations over the past year, and known for his sharp communication style and strong party mobilization skills. The Nairobi Senator has emerged as one of the younger voices attracting attention within the opposition. His political profile has continued to rise, especially after the death of Raila Odinga in 2025, and that moment left a major leadership vacuum inside ODM and the wider opposition movement. And since then, questions about who could inherit the mantle of opposition leadership have only intensified. Sifuna has not formally declared a presidential bid, but comments from senior leaders like Wamalwa now suggest he is increasingly being viewed as a possible national contender in the future. The latest development also come at a delicate moment inside ODM, and the party has recently experienced internal tensions linked to the leadership succession. generational change and also political direction after Raila Odinga's death. Several younger leaders have pushed for reforms and also fresh political thinking inside the party, and at the same time senior figures continue trying to maintain party unity during a difficult transition period. Wamalwa's remarks appear connected to those broader political shifts, and in fact the DAP Kenya leader has already been actively trying to attract Sifuna into own political camp. Earlier, Wamalwa revealed that the discussions had taken place between himself, Sifuna and other opposition leaders regarding possible future cooperation. At the center of those talks is the possibility of Sifuna leaving ODM, and if his position inside the party becomes difficult, Wamalwa disclosed that his party's Secretary General Eseli Simiyu had even agreed to step aside if necessary to allow Sifuna to take over the powerful role within DAP Kenya. That revelation surprised many political observers because party secretary general positions are among the most influential offices in political organizations. The role controls party administration, strategy coordination, and also grassroots mobilization. And for an established official to voluntarily offer the position to another leader reflects both political calculation and also recognition of Sifuna's growing influence. And according to Wamalwa, the decision was based on Sifuna's political potential and leadership qualities. He argued that if tensions inside ODM eventually force Sifuna out, DAP Kenya would be ready to receive him and also provide a political home. The remarks also suggest opposition leaders are already thinking strategically about building broader alliances before the 2027 elections officially begin. Kenya's political history shows that coalition building often starts long before campaigns formally launch, and negotiations happen quietly, relationships are tested, and alliances are carefully shaped around personalities, religion or the regional support, and also electoral mathematics. What makes the current moment particularly important is the changing structure of the opposition politics after Raila Odinga. For decades, Raila acted as the central figure holding together multiple opposition movements, and he united different communities, negotiated coalition agreements, and remained the opposition's strongest presidential candidate across several election cycles. Without him, the opposition now faces a major challenge, and finding a new unifying figure capable of commanding national support across regions and also political interests. That search appears to be creating space for younger leaders like Edwin Sifuna to gain prominence. At the same time, experienced leaders such as Eugene Wamalwa and Gachagua continue positioning themselves as major players in the opposition realignment. Political analysts say the next 2 years could determine whether the opposition successfully builds a stable coalition or falls into internal competition. For ordinary Kenyans, the political movements matter because they shape the national conversation ahead of the next election. At the time when many citizens continue struggling with the high cost of living, unemployment rising, fuel prices, and also economic uncertainty, opposition leaders are under pressure to present a clear and united alternative. That pressure explains why messages about sacrifice and unity are now becoming more common inside opposition circles. Leaders understand that divided campaigns often weaken public confidence, and after several previous coalitions breakdowns, many supporters are demanding stronger cooperation this time. Still, major questions remain unanswered. Who will eventually emerge as the opposition's presidential flag bearer? Can experienced political rivals genuinely unite behind the one candidate? And will younger leaders like Edwin Sifuna succeed in transforming growing popularity into national political leadership? For now, Eugene Wamalwa's remarks have added fresh momentum to those discussions, and his willingness to publicly support another leader signals a possible shift away from individual ambition towards coalition survival. Whether that unity will hold in the coming months remains to be seen, but one thing is already becoming clear. Kenya's opposition politics is entering a period of major transition, and all the political structures are changing. New alliances are emerging, and the younger leaders are beginning to occupy spaces once dominated by veteran political figures. And as the transition unfolds, every public statement, every alliance, and every political negotiation is likely to shape the road towards the 2027 general election. In politics, power often changes slowly before it changes suddenly, and as Kenya's opposition searches for unity after the Raila era, the alliances being formed today may ultimately decide who leads the country tomorrow. And that is all for now from Kenya Lens Media, where we bring you news updates as they break, and kindly, if you are new here, consider subscribing.